All right. Welcome into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks Untapped podcast. Corey Mullen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how we doing?
Doing well. Closer. We're, All-Star break's done. We're getting closer to getting back to the season. Can't complain.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, so obviously, as you guys know, the season didn't start back up until Friday. So me and Evan hopped on here to kind of discuss the Milwaukee Bucks with the unfortunate loss against the lowly Memphis Grizzlies and the general reaction to the All-Star Game festivities. It was a solid weekend. At least Saturday was for the NBA. And we'll kind of hop into that in a little bit. But first, I kind of want to talk about the loss of the Memphis Grizzlies, because here's the thing. It is an unfortunate loss.
It's like
there's really there's no two ways to split it, because when I really looked at this roster, it was just like, okay, they should have blown this team out by 35.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating part about this, is that there's no John Morant. Okay. Steven Adams is out for the year. Jaren Jackson Jr. missed this game. Marcus Smart missed this game. And when I look up and down the roster, I guarantee you, even being like a rabid NBA fan, there was not one player who I named that was like, oh, this player could make a difference. Like, you got to watch out for this guy. It was bad.
They cooked us.
Especially in the second half. They had a horrible second half. Okay? And that's not me overreacting. That's just what I watched. They had 13 turnovers in the game. Okay? Way too many points in the paint. They had about 60 points in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, and Doc Rivers said this after the game, where it was like, well, it felt like some of the guys were playing and some of the guys were in Cancun, and that's kind of what it looked like. I don't think every player put in their best effort in that particular game. So what was your reaction to what you watched?
It was one of those things where it's like, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's like they keep one-upping themselves on horrible games. I feel like almost every podcast I've said that was the worst game I've seen this season, and then they're like, hold my beer, and then they do it again. It's like, looking at the roster, again, I usually know a decent amount of players. There are a lot of guys that I don't know. But I think Zaire Williams and Watanabe were the only guys I could recognize. Everyone else, it was like they lost to their G League team. They lost to 7 players. 2 guys, they had 9 play, but 2 guys didn't even score. So they lost to 7 guys. We had our full team except Chris Middleton, which, again, it should not be the reason we lose to the G League Memphis. But looking back, I'm sorry, respect to this guy, but who the hell is Gigi Jackson, and how did he have 6 3-pointers? The Bucks had 11 the whole game. He had 6. And it's like one of those things where it's like, God, respect to them, but Gigi Jackson had 27 points off the bench in 30 minutes. And who was the other guy? Zaire Williams, again, 27 points. Their whole starting lineup had double digits except one guy. Mm-hmm. But Jesus, dude, I wanted to gouge my eyes out. And then I turned it off early. I'm like, this is stupid. I can't do this anymore. They almost tied it, but then Brook Lopez set a screen not on the Grizzlies player. He set the screen on Lillard, and Lillard ran into him, and they turned the ball over, and they lost. I don't even know what to say. I have no words for this game. This was, again, I'm going to say it. This has to be their worst game of the year. There are a lot of games that they've lost that I've said that. I'm going to continue to say it, but holy crap. They even scored the Grizzlies only scored 19 points in the fourth quarter, and the Bucks still lost. You held a team to under 20 points in the fourth quarter, and you still lose. It's these damn third quarters. They give up almost 40 points, I feel like, every game. I don't know. Horrible game. Giannis is their only key player. You could throw in Lillard, but again, another 3 of 13, 7 of 21 shooting. Cool.
My question about that final play is Lopez even a good screen setter, or is he just big?
I feel like he's just big.
Yeah, like I don't because I'm trying to remember if like if that's normally how Brook Lopez sets screens, because I don't know. You're right. It was just like he didn't really know what to do on that play, and you're right. It did look like that he pushed him into Lillard, but then of course fans are gonna read into that where it's like, oh my God, Brook Lopez doesn't like Damian Lillard. It's just like I doubt that. I doubt that Brook Lopez actively was like, let me ruin this play by like just shoving him into Damian Lillard. Like I doubt that's what happened. Okay, he's just not. He probably wasn't quick enough to get the screen get over to screen over, I guess, in time. So he just, that's just kind of the play that happened. But I doubt that he was just like, well, screw Damian Lillard. I'm just gonna like
do it myself.
like I'm just gonna mess up the screen intentionally just so we lose this game. I don't know. Even if he made it, like that's still not like something that we should have been proud about. Where it's like, oh my God, look at the Bucks. Look at Damian Lillard. He still has it. He's fighting to get us to win against the G League team. Well, here's the thing. Respect to these guys. They're NBA players. Okay. But come on.
But holy shit. We have an MVP.
Really, this is not the type of players we should be losing to. They didn't have John Morant. Okay.
No, they didn't have 7 players. 7 regular players. I counted. Did not play this game.
It's not like Marcus Smart played in this game either. So, like, I don't know. That's a concerning part. And, of course, Doc Rivers, the king excuse maker, was like, well, hey, I told him I'd rather wait until we got off this West Coast trip. But, we just had to get to the All-Star break. It's just, dude, stop making excuses. Okay? Yeah. Let's hold for accountability here.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part I'm going to be frustrated about Doc Rivers is I feel like he doesn't really hold himself accountable. He just kind of tosses players under the bus. And it's just not what we need. Okay, it's not what Milwaukee needs. Okay, start holding yourself accountable. Hey, I should have called a better play. Like, don't throw the players under the bus. Be like, well, some guys were playing today and some guys were in Cancun. That doesn't. I don't know.
That's a lame excuse.
It is, and that's the. And if like this doesn't work, like, and honestly. The scariest part about this is like this is probably going to be our coach for the next 4 years because they're already paying out 2 fired coaches.
Yep.
So, like they basically right now, like they made what's that term? They made their bed, or this is the bed they kind of made right now.
Yeah, the table's set for who they got. I mean, you fire 2 guys in the span of. I mean, there's that quote that Giannis came out with. He's like, "I've had 4 coaches in the last 6 months." Sure, it's been hard, and then they have a Doc Rivers quote, but it's like, "Hey, you're paying Budenholzer still. You're paying Adrian Griffin for half a season, and now you're paying a whole new guy." And yeah, and I would assume. The 4 would be what? Budenholzer, Griffin, Doc Rivers, Joe Prunty. I mean, you're not really paying him like a head coach, but still he's considered the head coach. But yeah, it's kind of ugly right now, and I'm going to assume that it's going to be Doc Rivers as well. They're not going to fire him and start all over. That would just throw the Bucks on social media into like a panic.
Here's my question about it, because I actually just watched a video on him, and I kind of forgot this is kind of how this whole situation went down. Do you think Milwaukee would kind of be in a similar situation because the video I just watched was on Eric Spoelstra, where when he started out his coaching career, right, with the Miami Heat, Miami, like there was a lot of criticism being like, oh, Spoelstra's in over his head. Like, he should be fired after like the first 2 or 3 years, especially after they lost to Dallas in the NBA Finals in 2011, but Pat Riley kind of stuck to his guns and kept him, and he kind of let him develop. And look, Eric Spoelstra is now regarded as one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. Do you think if we kind of we rode this out with Adrian Griffin, okay, and the ownership or the coach didn't have rabbit ears, do you think that we'd kind of be in a similar spot?
I want to say no. I feel like defense or not, the Bucks were still scoring under Adrian Griffin. They had the second highest points per game, and now they're barely cracking 100. I think I mentioned this the last one. I feel like whatever has changed with the transition of Adrian Griffin to Doc Rivers, something in their, I guess, coaching scheme, whatever play calls that they have on offense or defense, it's clearly been shifted to defense because obviously now they're holding teams to scoring less, but they're themselves have been scoring 15 points less, I feel like, almost every game. So I feel like there's a couple of these games where if they had whatever Adrian Griffin had on offense, I feel like there is a chance that we could be a couple games better, I guess, overall, but I'm sure it'd be close, but I feel like they'd be better with Adrian Griffin at this point. And just go through the season, see what happens. Boom. Sucks at the end. They get knocked off early. Fire him. Cool. Yeah, just still an iffy situation that they kind of put him in.
Yeah, because I think we can all agree how they fired Adrian Griffin and immediately named Doc Rivers as his successor was like very much a snake in the grass move. Okay. And like, there's really no two ways about it, if we're being honest here, because, if you don't really get the timeline, while they named Doc Rivers as a person who was going to help Adrian Griffin kind of navigate through his first year, and then, well, hey, we already know this kind of isn't working like a month into the year, but hey, let's but we do have a backup plan in case Adrian Griffin gets fired. Or better yet, instead of really having to try to figure this out and bring in 2 new assistants, why didn't they just have Joe Prunty finish out the year? Like, those are 2 questions that I keep asking about, because I don't think any Bucks fan was really pounding on the table for Doc Rivers.
No.
Or better yet, if they were, they probably should have just hired him in the first place.
Yep, that would have been my.
But now it's just we're going through this weird stage of having to try to figure everything out in the middle of the season, which it really doesn't help anything, and really wouldn't surprise me if. And Shaq actually said this the other day with the way Milwaukee's playing right now, they're probably going to get knocked out in the first round. I'm not saying that could happen, but they have to step it up. They have to, and they haven't done it yet. I get it, but there's no excuses now.
Yeah, no.
We had a West Coast. You want to excuse the West Coast trip? Fine, I get it. It's tough, but we have 3 runs under Doc Rivers. Okay, they have to pick it up after the All-Star break. You have plenty of time to rest. Okay, hopefully Middleton comes back healthy, but. We'll have to see what this team looks like if Giannis, Dame, and Chris can play together and kind of form a unit. And, hopefully Milwaukee gets some more, production from their bench.
Yeah, and their bench, man. It's it's not good.
Well, actually, this kind of moves me into my next topic before we get to the All-Star game. Okay.
Literally 10 minutes after our last podcast.
We talked about the potential to Danilo Gallinari being signed by the Bucks, or the 2 teams that were involved were the Bucks and the Clippers.
Yep.
And actually, it ended up being the Bucks. So Danilo Gallinari did sign with the Bucks. I'm pretty sure he's expected to play on Friday.
Yeah, I would.
Hopefully.
I would assume.
But I guess. Really not discounting anything, but what was your reaction to when they officially signed Gallinari?
I'm okay with it. I know he doesn't play a lot of defense, but it looks like at this point they don't have it covered, but they've increased. They've done better under Doc Rivers' last 13 games. I just hope that his role is to just come off the bench, hit a couple threes, scoring the paint. Again, he's, I think, 6'10". He's a taller guy, but he can hit from beyond the arc, and I'm hoping he can just come in and contribute 3-3-pointers. That 6 to 8 point range, maybe 6 to 10 point range, and just contribute that veteran status to some of the younger guys as well. But again, he's not going to have some huge role because again, he's a little older, getting up there with injury prone. But if we're going to sign him for the rest of the year, I think they got to hope that he's going to be reliable to score 6, 8, 10 points. I feel like throughout the course of his minutes. I'm assuming he's not going to get a lot, but if he's hot, he's hot. And he can cook for a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just got to hope he stays healthy, and we got to hope that his limited role, depending on Doc Rivers, how he's going to use him, because I know he's coached him in the past, but I just kind of hope that he comes in here and just contributes that backup bench player's role should. Not going in there for 15 minutes and scoring 2 points on 1 of 3 or 4 shooting. It's like, if we're going to take these shots, you got to hit them, because our bench production has been atrocious the last month, at least a month.
Well, let's hope he has a bigger role more than Goran Dragic had last year.
Yeah.
Because you remember when they signed Goran Dragic kind of in this general area, right? Oh, this is the guy that we've been trying to get for the past 2 years, and Mike
Budenholzer just sat in his warm-ups the whole time.
So Danilo, I hope that. So 2 things I hope for. 1, I hope for he has a bigger role more than Goran Dragic did last year, and 2, he's got to shoot better than Nikola Mirotic.
Yes.
Please. Okay. Nikola Mirotic, I think, shot like 29% in the playoffs, which is why we're signing Danilo in the first place. Like, all we're asking for is 2 threes. Okay. That is all we're asking for. Like, honestly, this kind of makes Milwaukee a little more dangerous, because not only do we have a veteran presence, but we have another shooter to pair with, as of right now, AJ Green, because that's really the only guy who consistently can shoot good from the outside. Malik Beasley has games here or there. Pat Connaughton once in a while, but
he can leave at any second after this season is done.
No
respect to Pat. Respect to playoff Pat in 2021, but Jesus, dude.
He cannot. He is not, like. Again, the only thing Pat Connaughton's providing us right now is like, oh my God, Pat Connaughton got hit in the face once again.
Yep. On a no call.
Like, it's just, I feel bad for, like, not like Pat Connaughton was not missing shots. He's getting hit in the face.
Yep. He's taking shots like Ersan did.
Oh my goodness. Ersan provides more value to the Bucks than Pat did right now.
Yeah. God. But yeah, I can't keep watching Pat Connaughton. Respect for him a few years ago, but fell off really fast.
Do you have the same energy for Bobby Portis, or is that kind of like
at least Bobby's scoring though? Bobby, I have issues with. Let me go back to the Grizzlies thing, because he had 2 assists. He took 12 shots.
Okay.
Again, he made 7 of 12. He had a good shooting game, but some of the shots that he misses are like, why on earth did you shoot that instead of passing it? It's like he catches it in the corner, and then he like posts up, and he like backs this guy down into the paint, and then whoop, hook shot, or like a little fadeaway shot. It's like, you got other guys open. You don't need to dribble the ball for 8 seconds. Like, there are other guys who can shoot and score. Again, he's gotten a little better offensively, but again, the 5 shots that he missed this game, some of those shots were extremely questionable. Of you can pass. It is allowed to do. But yeah, posting up a dude coming from the 3-point line is insane. And it's like, cool, that was just a waste of a possession. Again, he's getting better shooting, scoring-wise, from some of his earlier games, but watching him post up like that into a fade shot is like, cool, dude. That was so not needed.
Yeah, we really need Danilo, because after I watched, Patrick Beverley took too many threes for my liking. I was like, all right, we gotta get some more. We gotta get some more bench scoring, because if we're gonna rely on Patrick Beverley to shoot outside shots, all right, we gotta get more bench scoring in here. I think John Horst took one look at that. He was just like, "Yep, no, we can't. We gotta beef up our bench scoring a little bit." because I love Patrick Beverley. Okay, I love the energy he brings and stuff like that. But God forbid, I do not want. I'm scared to death when he shoots outside shots.
Yeah, like don't need to shoot. Like we got other guys. That was like PJ Tucker, good corner three guy. Shoot it if you need to, but there were times where it's like, just play defense. If you're wide open in the three, cool, take that. But some of Pat's shots, you're like, ooh. We took 4 of those, and you missed all 4. It's like at least you make one of them.
He hesitates too before he shoots. It's like Giannis a few years ago. It's like that. If you go back to my video that I posted, his first 3 he made against the Hornets, it's like he hesitated for like 3 full seconds before he shot it. I was like,
just catch and shoot it.
Just shoot it. But I don't know, he might not have the release or the shot. But again, I like Patrick Beverley. He's gonna bring us a lot of energy on defense. But dear God, I do not. But the other stuff, like, stop.
Yep.
Please.
Know your role.
So, All-Star Game reactions.
Yeah, that was shit.
So here's the thing. Okay, I understand where people are saying that was a disgrace. And I'm going to admit I didn't watch a second of the three-point contest. I did not watch a second of the dunk contest. I'm assuming that I know Mac McClung won.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like, I don't know. That just doesn't impress me anymore. It just doesn't get the, nobody jumps over cars or like people are like, oh my God, he jumped over Shaq. I was like, all right, well, I mean, that's impressive, but it's just Shaq's just standing there.
Yeah, I have some words about the dunk contest. I am huge into like the dunking, just the form of it. My favorite player of all time is Vince Carter. Obviously, he has the legendary dunk contest. That was my first jersey. And it's like you watch the dunk contest in like the 2000s when I was a kid. You got Gerald Green. You got one of my favorite players, Nate Robinson. You got all these guys. So it's like the creativity in the dunk. It could be super minimal, but like the thought of it, I think makes it better. Like I keep seeing the occurring clip of Gerald Green where he put the cupcake on the back of the rim. And, he goes up, catches the alley-oop, blows out the cupcake and dunks. It's like, that's cool. That's fun. No one's ever done that before. You got JaVale McGee dunking on 2 different hoops. You got all these guys, but now it's just like you jump. It's only jumping over people. That's like all the NBA dunk contest is the past few years. It's like, cool, you jumped over a guy. I mean, I can't do that, but it's like I don't want to see that 4 dunks of the, I don't know, 10 or so dunks that you see that whole tonight. It's like, cool. But like the scoring, first of all, is atrocious. They got to go back to just doing they don't do out of 10. Like each person, I think, scores out of 50 now, and then they average it. And it's just not a good I don't know. Like it's not efficient enough where I just want to hold up the 10, hold up the 8, hold up the 9. Now it's like 48.4. It's like, cool. Like, I don't care. But like the scoring from this dunk contest was so bad. I don't know if you
no, I completely agree. No, it's a popularity. They're not hard. They're not. There's no harsh judges anymore. Like dunks in the past, where it's like, all right, well, that's gonna be like a 6 or a 5. They'll throw an 8 on there. I'm like, dude, okay. I would expect an NBA player to like do like a double pump dunk. Like that doesn't get like, oh my God, that doesn't get me out of my seat. Like, and again, the 2008 was a good dunk contest when it was Dwight Howard, Nate Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I think Dwight Howard should have won that? Probably not, because he didn't really dunk it. He threw it in.
Yep.
To even go back to 2016 when it was Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, or 2020 when it was Derrick Jones Jr. and Aaron Gordon. Like, and the other problem is too, not only the lack of creativity, but like there's just no star power in there. Like,
no.
All right, I mean, okay, you have Jaylen Brown in there. That's 1 star. But who else? Like, Mac McClung has bounce. Don't get me wrong, but Mac McClung is not a star. Jaime Jaquez Jr. Not like, okay, first-year player, unlikely to be a star. He's a good player for the Heat. Like, who else? Were there any other stars?
The other guy was Obi Toppin's brother.
Yeah,
so, like, not even Obi Toppin himself.
Nobody cares. And the thing is like, the worst one, if you go back to, is 2022, when someone, I think Obi Toppin won the dunk test, but he didn't make any of his dunks.
Yeah, I forgot that lineup. But yeah, last year was like somewhat good, but yeah, it hasn't been.
Because Mac McClung was like, oh my God, this guy can do any type of dunk, but now they just want a second year in a row. It's like, all right, well, he doesn't have any competition. There's no other players that want to do it outside of Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, and Obi, 2020. I was looking at the 2022. It was Obi Toppin, Juan Toscano, Marquette legend, Jalen Green, and then Cole Anthony, where it's like, cool. I guess the biggest name is Jalen Green, but
nobody cares. Nobody cares. and here's the thing, okay, and which leads into the All-Star game, okay, which was, I mean, look, I like scoring in the NBA, don't get me wrong, but there comes a point in time where it's like it's a lack of respect for the game, where it's just like, this isn't even about talent anymore. It's just like it's like I'm watching another Pro Bowl. Like players, what used to happen when I used to watch All-Star games, okay, they used to be like, all right, they're gonna do, the offense is gonna be at a premium for the first 3 quarters. They're really not gonna try, but in the fourth quarter, everybody actually tried to play defense. But now it's just 4 quarters of an exhibition. And this has a lot to do with the younger generation of just like, well, from their standpoint, I don't want to get hurt in like a meaningless game.
True.
Like, so why am I'm not going to go 200 miles an hour. Like, I was just thinking about this. If Giannis got hurt in like this All-Star game, because Giannis likes to put like go 100 at all times. Like if Giannis got hurt in the All-Star game, I think there'd be people saying like disband the All-Star game, or like why should players be forced to try? Like, so it's really kind of a double-edged sword, and I honestly don't think there's really anything you can do to fix it. I did have a couple of ideas of just getting rid of, get rid of the events that nobody watches. So we could get rid of the celebrity games, okay? Because really nobody cares.
Yeah, that fell off too.
Now it's like celebrities are considered like TikTokers, which again, I understand videos are funny, but it's just like, there's a YouTuber in the All-Star celebrity game. Why? Like what? Like I get they're trying to reach a younger audience, but like watching a YouTuber play basketball, that doesn't do it for me. So they can get rid of the All-Star celebrity game, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've watched those in like a decade plus since Kevin Hart.
It's been a while since I've watched one of those too.
Okay. I mean, what else? So did they have like team, like there's too many events. I think that's the problem with the All-Star celebrity game, and it just kind of gets saturated down by the time you get to Sunday.
And what really irritates me is the not the rising stars, the agility one, whatever that one's called.
The skills challenge.
Yeah, the skills. I saw a clip of when Giannis was a rookie and they did it, when you have to pass the ball or bounce pass it into like the net, it was like, just a little bit bigger than a basketball. So you really got to be precise. And now you look at it, it's like a 6 foot, where it's like, if you miss that, you need to just retire. Like there's no way you are missing that. Like the size difference is insane. So it's like, cool, that's going to go in no matter what. Mm-hmm. And they took out, it used to be like, you make the layup, the one from like in the paint or the corner, you got the 3-pointer, they have to shoot the half court shot. That was always my favorite one, because you got like the current player, usually like a WNBA player of like close to that city's team if they have one, and then you have like the legend. And then they would shoot the half court. Like that was always my favorite one, and then they took it out. Now it's just like some dumb skills competition. Like Scotty Barnes threw a half court shot backwards at the skills competition, missed the hoop by 30 feet. It's like, what are we doing at this point? I think the best thing was the Sabrina Steph Curry. That was like I don't know.
No, I completely agree with you. So my plan was to just cut everything on that nobody watches, move like the NBA dunk contest and the 3-point contest. If you want to have like some sort of skills challenge, like move that to Friday, and then like have the game on Saturday, and then just leave Sunday just open.
Yeah, no one watches the media stuff and then
Like,
practicing. No one. That doesn't matter.
It's just too long. It's just too long. Like it's just way too oversaturated with like a bunch of events that nobody cares about.
Yeah, and I know JJ Redick, I just saw a video on that. He was saying, he's like, if things need to start on time. The All-Star game was 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central for us, and it didn't start till 7:45 or 7:42. It's a 40-minute difference from the start, when it was supposed to start to when it actually started. So that's already almost an hour after what it was supposed to be. And it's like the All-Star game itself, it's like, I get there's no defense, but like in years past, sure, there's no defense, but sometimes they at least have like cool dunks. They're throwing it off the backboard, like the one of Curry bounced it to Giannis. Like that's still cool. Now it's just like a 3-pointer or like a little, like the whole entire paint is open, then they just dunk it. There's no cool plays, I guess, to it anymore. It's just 3-pointer. Like Karl Anthony Towns, I had the stats up, he took 35 shots.
No, and what takes so long is like the lineup introductions, which I understand, which has always kind of been a thing, but like, why don't they just start that early? Like the players are ready to play. It's like, why do we need? I just don't understand why we need all this extra stuff.
Yep.
Just to play an All-Star game, just to play in a game that nobody could give two shits about. Like, I don't care. Okay, Adam Silver's gonna probably try to fix it next year, but I don't know if you can. I mean, unless you like stop making it like stop trying to force in like an All-Star weekend. Just make it 2 days.
Yeah,
and then if you make it 2 days, like I think a lot more people are going to tune in, because here's the thing, it's going to be low anyways. Because number one, it's like nobody really plays any defense, and number two, it's Sunday night. Most people go to work the next day. So if you're like a real NBA fan, you would probably have a job that you wake up to and you have to go to. So the ratings, I feel like, are going to be low anyways.
Yeah, and there's one thing I was going to. Oh, yeah, they got rid of I know the last few, they've done the target score, where it's like you have to score this amount of points first. Like that was kind of fun because it made it a little more competitive in the fourth quarter at least. And they had the draft. They got rid of the draft, which I personally liked just because, again, it kind of randomizes it. You get to see players play with each other that you'll probably never see. You're never going to see Giannis and Jokic on the same team. Or it's like you get to see that mismatch. It's kind of fun. That takes 15 minutes to draft, but it's like they took out the things that somewhat made it competitive, and then people are expecting it to be competitive when it's just a money show at this point. The MLB is holding it down for All-Star break stuff. All the other ones are god awful. I've never watched an NFL All-Star Pro Bowl in my entire 26 years of my life. I've never watched it before. It's because like it's boring. No one wants to watch long snaps hit targets. No one wants to watch the NBA guys shoot a ball into a gigantic circle that's going to go in 99 out of 100 times, where it's, I don't really care anymore. It's not fun. It's not exciting. There's no nostalgic to it. It's just everything's about money these days.
Yep. So to kind of wrap up the podcast, obviously we just gave our all-star we just gave our all-star rants about like what to do. A couple more topics we got here. So, kind of staying on the topic of the All-Star game, Damian Lillard did win the 3-point contest and the MVP for the All-Star game.
Yep.
People seem to think that this could be like a resurgence of sorts for him. Like, what do you think? Did this kind of be like, oh, Dame's back?
I hope. When I was working Saturday night for the Panthers, really fun game too. They had a walk-off 3-pointer, super exciting. And then I looked at my phone and I saw Lillard wins the 3-point contest. And I was talking to the guys that I work with, like, oh, do you guys want to know who wins? It's like, it's Lillard. They're like, of course he does. It was like one of those things where it's like we see him, like, just go back to the Grizzlies game. His 3-point shooting, he was 3 of 13. And then he goes and wins the 3-point contest a few nights later. And it's like, why isn't this translating into your actual play? Obviously, you're not being defended in the 3-point contest, but you're timed, so you got to time everything out accordingly. But yeah, I really hope. Malik Beasley, of course, got last place, but even his wasn't that bad either. But I hope that's all I can say is seeing him win that and then get the All-Star MVP. He made 2 half-court shots in the second half. I was only able to watch the second half, but it's like he's shooting lights out on these like extremely long 3-pointers than he does in the game, and it's like brick, 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 brick. Oh, a make. And then he misses the next 3 where it's one can hope that it kind of translated. I just saw a video before we started recording of him being interviewed by Shaq. I don't remember like exactly what Shaq was saying, but it's basically like when you guys get back, like your team has to step up. He's like, you guys are 3 of 7 under Doc, and he's like trying to give him advice of like, you guys need to step it up basically and hold each other accountable for this, because at this point they're not looking good. But yeah, seeing Giannis win the All-Star game with that team compared to the West was stacked. Almost all those guys you can consider would be Hall of Famers to the East. But I'm hoping, man, getting that. The last time the Bucks had a All-Star game MVP, they won the championship. So yeah, I'm not saying or jinxing anything, but one can only hope.
No, God, no. Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody. I think again, this didn't really tell me anything about Damian. This didn't really tell me anything different because I know Damian Lillard's a special player. His splits this year, like I said, haven't been very good, but this didn't like make anything crystal clear where it's like, oh my god, like if Dame plays like yeah, he's not back yet. He's got to be a little more efficient from the field, I think.
Yeah. We know what he's capable of doing in these kinds of competitions. He's one of the most clutch players of all time, and we kind of know what he's capable of doing, but yeah, time can tell. But
now yeah, it's now. The time is now. Like we're in the second half of the season. Like, we fired coach in the middle of the year. Like it's like Dame has to now step up. Like that's everybody has to step up. It's not just on Dame. But what people want to forget about is, they kind of. Anyway, I know I posted this last week. They've kind of posted about his like inefficiencies and stuff like that. Or he hasn't been as efficient from the floor as he usually is. He's still making winning plays. Like don't forget, like people want to point at the final shot that unfortunately didn't go in against the Grizzlies, but who took that charge, like to kind of put Milwaukee in that position? Yeah. So, people are saying Dame doesn't care. Dame doesn't do this. He still cares. He's making winning plays. He grabbed he hopped up to grab an offensive rebound the other day. So it's like he still cares. He's still trying to make winning plays for this team. So, I don't want to hear that. Oh, he doesn't care. It's the divorce. Blah 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 blah. I don't want to hear that. He's still making.
You could tell if he doesn't care. His game would be so much different if he didn't care.
Yeah. He's not. People are treating him like he's Jordan Poole.
Yeah, he's not complaining. He's not like not playing. Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb.
It is. So the last topic I do have. What are your predictions for how Milwaukee not only finishes out the season, but how they? You know what? We won't do playoffs yet, but like, how do you think Milwaukee is going to do in the second half of the year?
Yeah, looking at their schedule, again, they're in third place right now. The Cavaliers have been on a hot streak. Looking at their schedule, again, we're coming back to the Timberwolves and the Sixers, but, then we got the Hornets back-to-back. Then we got the Bulls. The Warriors aren't playing too hot. It's like there are teams that we should probably be winning, especially when they're at home. I don't think they're going to get first place. I expect them to stay in that second or third place. I don't know if the Knicks aren't too far behind, but I don't think they'll drop past fourth place. We'll say second to fourth place in that margin. I hope Gallinari can come in and do what he's supposed to do. I hope Lillard can come back and shoot more efficient. And I think my biggest is one, I hope Andre Jackson Jr. actually plays because Doc Rivers isn't playing him and it's kind of pissing me off. I hope AJ Green can kind of stay consistent with his shooting. He's been kind of hot right now the last few games. He had one game, but he was right after his career high game. He was kind of off that next one. But again, it is what it is. I hope he can kind of stay that 2 to 4 3-point game. Pat Connaughton needs to step the hell up if he's playing 24 minutes and shooting 3 shots and only making 1. If you're going to shoot 3 shots and make 0 to 1, it's like just don't even shoot at that point. Patrick Beverley, I hope, just kind of figures out his defensive role is more appropriate than his offensive game because we got other guys to do that. And then I would probably just say I hope Lillard and Beasley can just be more efficient shooting because especially Beasley, his shooting has been like really bad as of recently. He has a good game here and there, but then he goes like 1 for 10 or 3 for 10 where you win the game if he makes 2 more 3-pointers, especially the Grizzlies game. He shot 10 3-pointers, only made 3 of them. He makes 2 more of those, you win the game. Lillard, same thing. You make 1 more 3-pointer, it's tied. It's all those like nitpicky things, but I just hope their offense gets back on the pace that it used to be when they were under Agent Griffin. Do I think it will? It's iffy, but just scoring 110 points after them consistently scoring 124 to like 135 it's a weird drop off. But yeah, just hoping for more consistency from some of these guys who are taking the majority of their shots and for the other guys to figure out a better role for themselves if they're not going to be the primary scorers. Pat Connaughton is not a primary scorer. So if you're going to take 3 shots, make at least 1 or 2 of them. Don't just chuck up shots. Andre Jackson Jr., like if you're going to play, main role is defensive, but you can score also. So again, just kind of limit the shots if we know that we're not the primary scorers. AJ Green should be their primary scorer off the bench. Same with Bobby Portis and hopefully Gallinari as well. Everyone else is kind of more defensive. And then my last thing is they got to start figuring out rotations that aren't like 4 bench players and then Brook Lopez. That's like none of that is working. I feel like Giannis, and when Chris is healthy again too, I feel like Giannis, Lillard, and Chris always have to be on the court. At least one of them have to be playing with the bench guys. Brook or Malik Beasley playing with all the bench guys is not doing it. Like Brook, Pat, Andre Jackson Jr., AJ Green, like just having those lineups, it's like it's doomed for you got no offense and Brook is your only defender. It's iffy with some of the lineups. I'm hoping there's again just more consistency all around scoring defensively and even their rotations because some of those rotations are god awful.
Yeah, I mean, right now they sit 3rd in the East. I think they'll hop up to 2nd. Because who are they still chasing? They still chasing the Celtics, right? I think Celtics are the first team in the East.
Yeah, Celtics are 43-12. Cavs are 36-17. Bucks are 35-21.
Yeah, I think they're not going to catch the Celtics. That's very unlikely. But I do think that, I think Milwaukee will hop up to 2nd. I think Doc Rivers figures it out, okay, offensively and defensively. Okay, I think, and we're kind of starting to see a little bit of that Giannis and Dame connection where, their pick and rolls are kind of starting to be utilized a little more. They're hitting the alley-oops a little bit more. So, I think they're kind of gaining a little bit of a connection with each other, which is kind of what we've been waiting the whole season for that. So that is a positive. The development of AJ Green, like I said, like I've mentioned before, that's been a huge positive for this team as well because, there were times where I was like, we should put AJ Green in more because he could shoot the lights out of the basketball. And now that his defense has improved, now he's kind of like turning into a solid 2-way player, I would say.
But yeah, I think it's a good confidence booster too, where he's had like stretches of games where he's not making any of his shots. Again, the defense was just not existent, but it's definitely a confidence boost, I think, for him to not only hit a lot of his shots more, but also have that somewhat defensive step up as well in his game. So yeah, hopefully it translates into the rest of the year, and it could be a dark horse guy for the playoffs with how he's been shooting, especially if you need a guy quickly come off the bench and hit a couple threes. So fingers crossed on him, because that would be a good pick me up, I think, for the rest of the season, then into the playoffs.
Yep. So, and hopefully Dame kind of starts to figure. Hopefully Dame can figure it out a little bit more. But like I said, yeah, the starters, they, it's mostly the bench that really has to get going. But if collectively Milwaukee can kind of come together as a unit, I can see them finishing second in the East. But obviously there was a lot to figure out when Doc Rivers first came in. Okay, adding in 2 new assistant coaches, maybe trying to fix the offense a little bit. So I think they're trying to do with what works, what doesn't. The only downside of this team right now is they don't really have an insurance policy at the big man. It's really Brook Lopez or nothing.
Yep.
Which again is kind of a concern. But what are you gonna do? That's just what the big man market wasn't. It wasn't too good. I think there was a lot of people wanted the Bucks to sign Bismack Biyombo, but
again, yeah, he's not some game changer as well, but it's just another guy to have off the bench.
It's a big body.
Yeah,
it's a big body. But the more I think about it, I'm trying to remember if they had another big in the finals run, and I don't know if they did. It might have just been Brook Lopez.
Yeah, it was Brook Lopez, and then you just throw Bobby and Giannis in there. Obviously, they're not playing center, but again, they're also those big body guys. Clearly, Giannis could guard Ayton, but it was really just Brook Lopez because Robin wasn't on the team, and Robin clearly would not have played in the finals either.
Oh, God, no. So, it's mostly just been Brook Lopez just holding down the fort by himself, which, Brook Lopez is still a good player, but, he is getting up there in age, so you can't rely on him forever.
Yep, and again, there's so many teams I feel like have found their center too, where it's they're not just going to give them up anymore, even for some of the lower end teams as well. But we'll see with that. But hopefully Brook can find a little help down the road. But I did see very close before we start recording, the Bucks signed a 2-way guy from the Wizards, Ryan Rollins. Don't know who that is, but they picked him up to a G League 2-way contract. Again, averaging 4 points this year. Was a rookie last season. Has only played 6 minutes. Hasn't played in the last few games. So we'll see. I think he's from Toledo. But that's one thing. And then the other thing I did see that I forgot to mention when we were talking about Gallinari is that when he signed with the Bucks, he put an X on his calendar for the games that they play the Celtics. So hopefully that means when they play the Celtics, he's going to have a little career night, because again, that was his last team. He obviously got hurt, then they let him go. He didn't really get the chance to kind of show out, but hopefully that's a sign that he does that for every game. But doing that against the Celtics will be big.
Yeah, Patrick Beverley actually is doing the same thing against Philadelphia, because as you know, they replaced him basically with Kyle Lowry.
Yep, they want him soon too.
And so we'll have to I appreciate the fact that Patrick Beverley is going to go at another elder statesman in the league, and Kyle Lowry. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, because Patrick Beverley's been, after every win, he's been posting belt to ass tour. So, we'll see what happens with that.
So Bucks don't come back until Friday. Yep. Again, in that 9:00 game against the Timberwolves. And then they play Sunday against the Sixers. So again, and it's away. It's in Philly, so that'll be a good one. Hopefully, Gallinari plays on Friday. So they got 2 pretty tough games to start out away, but then they got the Hornets home and then the Hornets away on Tuesday and Thursday. And then again, we get some teams that hopefully they can beat and get a little streak going. I again kind of annoyed with the win lose. Get a little streak.
Exactly.
Doesn't need to be long, but just kind of get that momentum pushing as we push towards March as well. That's all they need at this point is that momentum run. Team chemistry.
100%. And with the game against the 76ers, Joel Embiid is unlikely to play. So
That's true.
So we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, we got to focus on Minnesota first. So
Yep, and that's a matinee game. So we got a 9 o'clock on Friday and then a noon game on Sunday. Those fun NBA times.
Love it. Love it. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Milwaukee Bucks at Tap podcast. And we'll see you guys probably next week.
Yes.